Hello all, welcome to another session of International Business, and today we would be discussing Leontief paradox. In the early 1950s, a Russian-born American economist Vasily W. Leontief studied the US economy closely and noted that the United States was abundant in capital. Like in Heckscher-Ohlin theory, we saw that there is a different factor endowment in different countries. So US has got more capital. There are China and India which are more labor intensive and therefore should export more capital intensive goods. However, his research using actual data showed the opposite. The United States was importing more capital intensive goods. Now, according to factor proportions theory, like I've told you, the United States should have been importing labor intensive goods, but instead it was actually exporting them. Now, his analysis became known as Leontief paradox. Why? Because it was the reverse of what was expected by the factor proportions theory. In subsequent years, economists have noted historically at that point in time, the labor in United States was both available in steady supply and more productive than in many other countries. Hence, it made sense to export labor intensive goods. Over the decades, many economists have used theories and data to explain and minimize the impact of this paradox. However, what remains clear is that international trade is complex and is impacted by numerous and often changing factors. Trade cannot be explained neatly by one single theory, and more importantly, our understanding of international trade theories continues to evolve. So one of the steps was, an exception to Heckscher-Ohlin theory has been this Leontief paradox. So the Heckscher-Ohlin theorem gave a generalization that the capital abundant countries tend to export capital intensive goods, while labor abundant countries tend to export the labor intensive goods. Leontief put this generalization to an empirical test in 1953 and found the results were contrary to the generalization provided by Heckscher-Ohlin theory. Leontief made use of 1947 input-output tables related to US economy. 200 groups of industries were consolidated into 50 sectors, of which 38 traded their products directly on the international market. He took only two factors of production, labor and capital. His main empirical results we'll just discuss. In brief, capital abundant countries export labor intensive goods and labor abundant countries export capital intensive goods. Now this reflects what is known as Leontief paradox, as this conclusion goes against Heckscher-Ohlin theory. Although the United States is a capital abundant country, yet its specialization is found in labor intensive commodities. The conclusion derived by Leontief not only surprised him but startled the academicians throughout the world. The economists undertook intense research for re-examining both the Heckscher-Ohlin theory and Leontief paradox. The attempts were also made on empirical grounds to reconcile the Leontief analysis with the Heckscher-Ohlin theory. Several economists investigated the causes of bias in Leontief's work and exposed the methodological and statistical weaknesses and inaccuracies in his analysis. Now, this is what is shown here as Leontief paradox in this table. What does this table shows? It shows the import replacement industries in US had been employing 30% more of capital than the export industries. The capital labor ratio was higher in the import replacement industries than the export industries. So it suggested that the exports of United States generally recognized as capital abundant country, were actually labor intensive rather than capital intensive. Leontief therefore concluded American participation in the international division of labor is based on its specialization in labor intensive rather than capital intensive lines of production. In other words, this country resorts to foreign trade in order to economize its capital and dispose of its surplus labor rather than vice versa. Although the conclusion given by Leontief was in contradiction to the generalization by Heckscher-Ohlin theory, yet Leontief never attempted to supplant the factor proportions theory. He rather tried to explain the reasons due to which he arrived at a result different from that provided by Heckscher-Ohlin theory. Many other economists too attempted to reconcile the Leontief paradox with the Heckscher-Ohlin theory of international trade. Now, what has been the major explanations? Let us see in the coming slides. So, Leontief actually tried to reconcile between the Leontief's paradox and Heckscher-Ohlin theory. The first is labor productivity. Leontief himself tried to bring about reconciliation between his paradox and Heckscher-Ohlin theory through the argument that United States, though a labor scarce country in strictly quantitative or conventional terms, is actually a labor abundant country. The productivity of labor in United States is about 3 times that of labor in the foreign countries. The higher productivity of American labor was attributed by him to better organization and entrepreneurship in the United States than in other countries. In view of this, it is not surprising that the labor abundant United States exports those products which have relatively greater labor intensity. So there is no doubt that the productivity of labor is higher in United States than any other country. But the multiple of 3, as we assumed by Leontief, was clearly arbitrary. In a study conducted by Karenin in 1965, it was revealed that the productivity of American labor was more than that of foreign labor only by 20 to 25% and not 300%. Given such a situation, the United States cannot be regarded as labor abundant country. Salvatore pointed out that the higher labor productivity in United States than in other countries implies a higher productivity of capital also in that country relative to other countries. So both US labor and capital should be multiplied by the same multiple 3, but that will leave the relative capital abundance of United States as unaffected. Leontief himself later on withdrew this explanation. The second explanation was human capital. Leontief had found greater capital intensity in the US import substitution industries than in export industries. Why? Because he did not include the investment in human capital. He had emphasized only upon the physical capital such as machinery, equipment, buildings, etc. The investment in human capital means spending on education, skill creation, and health. Such an investment brings about substantial increase in the productivity of labor. There is little doubt that the United States is most well endowed with human capital. If the human capital component is added to the physical capital, the US exports become far more capital intensive relative to her import substitutes. It is confirmed by the empirical studies conducted by Kravis, Kennan, and Keesing. The next is natural resources. In Leontief's analysis, the part played by natural resources in determining the composition of trade of a country had been completely overlooked. A prominent study made by J. Vanek showed that the United States was relatively scarce of several natural resources. There is complementarity between capital and natural resources in the field of production. The efficient utilization of capital requires large amounts of natural resources as well. The United States imports, in fact, are the natural resource intensive products such as minerals and forest products. Now, these products have high capital labor ratio in United States process of production. By importing such products, the United States actually conserves her scarce natural resources. At the same time, she exports the farm products that have low capital labor ratio. The exact assessment of the validity of Heckscher-Ohlin theory of Leontief paradox can be possible only after the quantification of the contribution of natural resources in a precise manner gets materialized. Next is factor intensity reversal. The Heckscher-Ohlin theorem does not recognize the reversal of factor intensity. It assumes that a commodity like cloth is labor intensive both in US and India, and another commodity, steel, is capital intensive in both the countries. The factor intensity reversal can occur if the United States produces and exports textiles through capital intensive techniques, but India produces and exports the same commodity through labor intensive techniques. Now, in such a situation, the Heckscher-Ohlin theory cannot be sustained and Leontief paradox may become applicable in one of the two countries. But the factor intensity reversal must be widespread or substantial to repudiate the Heckscher-Ohlin theory. A widely discussed study by Minhas recognizes the validity of factor intensity reversal, but the studies made by Leontief himself in 1964 and Moroni found it to be quantitative insignificant. It is found insufficient to reject strong factor intensity hypothesis of the Heckscher-Ohlin theory or justify Leontief's paradox. Next is consumption pattern. Now, another explanation to reconcile the Heckscher-Ohlin theory and Leontief paradox is in terms of the consumption patterns in US economy. It is sometimes argued that American consumption pattern was so strongly biased in favor of capital intensive goods that the prices of such commodities were relatively higher in United States, and therefore she would export relatively labor intensive goods. Now, this argument tends to support Leontief paradox. A 1957 study concluded by Hautaker about the consumption patterns in many countries showed that the income elasticity of demand for food, clothing, housing, and several other goods was strikingly similar across nations. Now, consequently, the explanation of Leontief paradox in terms of taste differences cannot be accepted. Next is international demand pressures. The high labor intensity in United States exports and capital intensity in case of import replacement products can be attributed to the demand pressures in United States and her trading partners. Romney Robinson explained Leontief paradox without repudiating the Heckscher-Ohlin theory on the basis of relative patterns of demand existing in the United States and other countries. Now, according to him, the pattern of demand in United States is such that it is compelled to import all such commodities that have a relatively higher capital intensity. Similarly, the pressure of demand in foreign countries is such that the United States is required to export the labor-intensive commodities. Next is research and development. Leontief arrived at a conclusion which is in contradiction to the Heckscher-Ohlin theory, also because he overlooked the effect of research and development expenditure on the trade pattern. The value of output derived from a given stock of materials and human resources increases on account of research and development activity. Even casual observation demonstrates that the US exports are research and development sensitive. The study attempted by Gruber, Mehta, and Vernon found that the US export performance is closely related to the investment in research and development. It is true that this test is indirect because technology differences have not so far been recognized as the basis for trade, but still, the relative comparative advantages of different countries may be influenced by the research and development expenditure. So, US exports are research and development sensitive. Next is tariff structure. Leontief paradox can be reconciled with Heckscher-Ohlin theory if it is recognized that the tariff structure existing between the trading countries can influence the pattern of trade. What is a tariff? A tariff is a tax on imports and it tends to restrict the imports. A 1954 study made by Kravis showed that the labor-intensive industries were most heavily protected in the United States. That perhaps reduced the labor intensity of US import substitutes. Similarly, the LDCs may be compelled to permit duty-free import of agricultural products or other labor-intensive products from the United States in order to tide over their domestic shortages. So, in case of less developed countries, they will have to permit the duty-free import of agricultural products from the which are labor intensive and which are from United States just to fulfill their domestic shortages. Leontief paradox actually has been subject to a lot of criticism both on methodological as well as empirical grounds. The main objections have been such like one, inherent bias. So the writers like B.C. Swerling and Salvatore found an inherent bias in Leontief's work related to 1947. Now this year was very close to the period of Second World War, which was from 1939 to 45. The world economy completely disorganized during this war period and had not yet been able to make proper adjustments in production and international trade. So observing that year could have introduced a bias in the entire process. The second was inclusion of industries with low capital intensity. Now, Swerling pointed out that Leontief's paradox involved a bias because of inclusion of certain industries in case of which capital labor ratio was very low. In view of this objection, Leontief reworked upon his data after enlarging the group of industries into 192 sectors. However, even this study confirmed that the American import substitution industries had higher capital intensity than export industries, although the capital intensity of the former over the latter had been reduced only to 6%. The next point is incompatibility of input-output model. So the paradox was attacked by Walras-Weil on the ground that it was based on the input-output table, showing the fixed input-output coefficients. Such models are not compatible with the domestic conditions of international trade, in which the technological developments do bring about changes in the input-output coefficients, and trade can have significant influence on the composition of production and structure of industries. The next criticism point comes in as the problem of aggregation. Now, according to Balogh, the Leontief paradox involved a bias that resulted from the aggregation in the input-output matrix for indirect computation of capital labor ratio. A spurious labor intensity of the US export industry appeared because of the aggregation of capital intensive exportable goods with similar domestically used labor intensive goods. So, uh, the aggregation actually could have created or given such results. Irrelevant factor intensity comparison. According to P.T. Ellsworth, the comparison instituted by Leontief between capital abundant and labor abundant countries is irrelevant. In fact, the comparison should have been made between the capital intensity of US exports with the capital intensity in the countries from which the American imports are obtained. The higher capital intensity in import replacement industries of USA than her export industries is also not surprising, as the production of import substitutes in the US is bound to require more capital per unit of labor due to more roundabout methods of production there. Leontief should have seen whether or not goods imported into America were capital or labor intensive in the country of origin. The next is neglect of the role of natural resources. Buchanan has criticized Leontief for having neglected the role of natural resources in the determination of trade pattern. Now, this has also been stressed by Hofmeyr and J. Vanig. Capital and natural resources are complementary in many fields of production. Although capital is relatively abundant in United States, yet it may be less effective because that country is relatively undersupplied with natural resources and it may not be able to make full use of its capital. Larger agricultural exports from Canada, Australia, and most of less developed countries are land intensive, essentially because of abundance of land. The next criticism is of neglect of differences in durability of capital. Now, according to Buchanan only, the Leontief made use of investment requirement coefficient as the capital coefficients. So he failed to take into account the differences in capital durabilities in different industries. The next criticism comes from neglecting the human capital. Leontief's conclusion suffered from bias that resulted from the inclusion of physical capital alone in his measure of capital. The human capital was overlooked completely. If human capital is included, the paradox gets eliminated. Now, this was confirmed by several studies made by Crevis, Kennan, and Keesing. Baldwin updated in 1971 Leontief's study by using the 1958 US input-output tables and US trade data for 1962. The next is effect of demand conditions. Romney Robinson attacked the Leontief's paradox on the ground that the demand conditions within a country may be such that a country produces a commodity through the use of her abundant factor. Now, the given demand or consumption pattern may prevent the export of such commodity. On the opposite side, the country may feel the necessity of importing it. So, the capital abundant country like United States, on the basis of this logic, can import capital intensive goods from abroad if its income level rises and if the income elasticity of demand for such goods is that country is high. Similarly, a labor abundant country may export capital intensive goods if the income elasticity of demand for such goods is high in that country. So the Leontief paradox can be valid in case of United States if it is assumed that the consumption pattern in that country is very strongly biased in favor of capital intensive goods. The assumption is, however, not acceptable. A study made by A.J. Brown revealed that the consumption or demand pattern in United States did not appear to be biased in favor of capital intensive goods. Thus, Leontief paradox cannot be justified even on the basis of differences in demand or the consumption pattern, sadly. So this has been the criticism of Leontief's paradox. One of another criticism is unbalanced trade. So Lerner expressed the view that Leontief's paradox would fail when the country had trade imbalance. He pointed out that United States had a trade surplus in 1947, and there was a very little evidence that exports were labor intensive. Another criticism is analysis concerned with single country. So Leontief arrived at the conclusion of higher capital intensity of the US imports than exports, perhaps because his analysis was concerned with only one country, the United States of America. Had he considered US along with Japan, he would have found the US exports were capital intensive compared with the Japanese exports. So these has been the criticisms of Leontief's paradox. Another criticism is productivity of labor. Leontief attempted to defend his conclusions by putting forward the argument that the productivity of an average American worker was equivalent to 3 foreign workers. Therefore, the United States was a labor surplus country which was likely to export labor intensive goods. But Leontief failed to provide any convincing reason for making this rather arbitrary hypothesis. In addition, the increase in labor efficiency or productivity to the stated extent implies that productivity of capital should also be 3 times more than that in the foreign country. The multiplication of capital stock with a multiple of 3 would leave the factor endowments unchanged, and Leontief's logic would fall through. With all these criticisms, Leontief's paradox was not that widely accepted, but still has its important implications. Another criticism has been neglect of tariffs. This was a very serious weakness in Leontief's analysis, that he failed to take into account the effect of tariffs policy on the pattern of trade. Travis emphasized that the tariff policies adopted by different trading countries often distorted the pattern and the composition of trade commodities. Leontief's result too were very seriously affected by the tariff policies in United States and her trading partners, but Leontief overlooked these influence. In view of objections against Leontief's study and mixed empirical tests, a categorical answer about the validity of Heckscher-Ohlin theory or Leontief paradox cannot be easily given. Clearly, much more research, says Sidney J. Wells, that remains to be done in this very intricate field. And he said that, we really know very little about the precise relationship between any country's pattern of trade and its factor endowments. These are the references for the Leontief's paradox. Thank you for listening.